And so as I was doing this, one of the biggest projects or accomplishments, there was a project that was put out by the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and it was going to be a pilot study on the effectiveness of high performance filtration in the classrooms and the effects on the students as far as cognitive and absenteeism and just overall well-being in comparison to how they are, at home and when they come in. And so this is a pretty high profile project. And I took all my knowledge, expertise, and experience that I had garnered to that point. And I went in and I was working with a manufacturer, and I put together a proposal, an RFP, right? And I turned it in, and months went by. And of course, there's like, man, I hope I was good enough. I hope I answered all the questions. And there was a lot of science in there. And I hope it's going to work out. And about 3 months later, I get a phone call, and I was awarded the contract. It was $1.4 million. It was a year-long pilot study, and I beat United Technologies for the contract, and we all know who that is.
I know who they are. Yeah.
And that was a nice feather in my cap, and that really was kind of a culmination or a crescendo of everything I've been learning, and being able to do that at that level, and really just another block and another launching point. And it was fantastic.
Well, let me ask you about that. So let me know if my understanding is correct. You went into an educational or a classroom setting and did a comparison between what's, I guess, the control, which would be no special addition to the filtration system, compared to upgrading the filtration system, and comparing how it affected the attendance of students. Did it improve the attendance and cognitive ability, or affected any other way? Am I understanding that correctly?
You are. We stuck more to the nuts and bolts, and the physical attributes of what we did, and the way we were able to do that is through measurements. And so we did 3 different schools in and around the oil refineries and the harbor in Los Angeles and in Long Beach. And so we went in, and for a solid month in each setting, each of the 3 classrooms. So that's 3 months of pre-testing, post-testing. And we tested these classrooms every which way from Sunday. We had these carts that were worth $100,000 worth of stuff. And it's a live setting. Kids coming and going, and, kids sneezing and coughing and everything else. And the system on, the system off. And then we gathered all that data. And then after the 3 months was over, we went back to the South Coast Air Quality Management District, of course, was with us the whole time to make sure that we were doing a good, solid pilot to get real results. No numbers were fudged. This is all real time, real data, no fudging of numbers. And so then it's like, okay, let's put together a strategy. And we started introducing, I rebuilt a whole bunch of systems. We started adding ventilation, which was very heavily filtered. And we started looking at filtering the HVAC systems with MERV 16, but there was a lot of altering we had to do. Because they were all, how schools and municipalities are. They're 1-inch filters everywhere, and they change them out every 3 months if they're on schedule. And so a lot of sheet metal work, a lot of altering, put it all back together. And then we started doing post monitoring. And then we were also indirect of the pilot study. We were looking at attendance, and it all indications seemed to pointed in the direction that it was getting better, but there was no definitive, it was because of what we did, because that would be a whole different pilot study. But the results were fantastic. We far exceeded our expectations.
Let me ask you a question. When you're doing a study like that, let's say it's a month of testing, does the time of year and everything factor into that? Because you'll have something which is like, you'll have cold season, you have a temperature that's warm going into a colder season, people are in school, so basically the how attendance works can vary based on those conditions. So how was it all set up so you guys knew that your numbers were going to be solid 100%, you wouldn't have to worry about it?
Well, and that's a great question. And in a perfect world, we would have done 3 months of post testing, and then the next year came back and did 3 months of. But the numbers were pretty solid because it's live. I mean, the kids came and went and did everything they're going to do. The systems came in on and off. And obviously we started at the beginning of the year, so we're in the warmer months and they're running air conditioning. And then as we got through, we're coming into fall and winter. And so, but they're still running the mechanical, and the kids are still coming and going. And so, but that was how the structure of the pilot study was laid out. And we followed it. Hey, they wrote the check. I'm going to do what they tell me to do.
I know, it's like you test for a year, but they write a check for a certain amount, and after a while, the money runs out. So you have to do what you can do. What did you? Okay, let me start here. In my house, I have a little Haven device that tells me how many VOCs are in the air at any given time, and gives me warnings and tells me I have a high level of X, Y, or Z. When you ran this test, what are you looking at? What type of substances or groups of substances are you measuring? And what did you add anything beyond the different style filtration, like the actual just I don't want to say media filtration? Was there anything else you added besides that?
No. The pilot study was really focusing on mechanical filtration and the effects, and both filtering the mechanical air and the ventilation air. And so, hey, shout out to Kevin Hart.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Kevin. So yeah, we went deep. We were looking at a full spectrum of particulates, all the way down into your ultrafines, PM 2.5s, and smaller. And then we were also speciating those particulates, that's a tall order, and most people won't do that. Your environmentalists can, but that starts to get expensive. So we were actually speciating. We were looking at a wide range of organicals. I just made up a new word.
Hey, I totally believe that was an actual word in the moment.
Organics, right? And so we were looking, and so because we were doing ambient indoor and outdoor simultaneously, that gave us a good idea and a baseline on what was going outside. We were looking at asbestos that's airborne, and black carbon, and emissions and TVOCs were all part of that. Because we were by the oil refineries, we were looking at benzene and dialene. We are also, it was interesting that we were able to pick up some of the things that the students were using, and the custodians as well, as they're using some ammonias and isopropyls and different things for clean. We catch that first thing in the morning, but we wanted it to be as live and real as possible. So the black carbons come off of diesel emissions. The asbestos come off because we're by major freeways as well. That comes off all the brake pads. And then there was industry as well. And as their emissions fall and then get aerosolized because of wind and because of traffic and different things, those were everything. And that's when I said we had a robust testing protocol for our pre and post, and looking at a wide range of pollutants. It was pretty fascinating. And we did really good work in removing the black carbons and removing some of the asbestos dust that was found in the air. And we also did very well on organicals.
I like it. The hashtag for this episode.
Well, and so just to break the seriousness, my wife has a running list of what she calls Johnisms. when I will say, I know what I want to say, and I'll say a word wrong, like organicals.
Yeah.
And so she's got this, and she's not afraid to pull it out and say, John. So
Well,
I share
wives
that
aren't
with
afraid.
everybody.
I would never think a wife would be afraid to pull any list like that out. Just in my own experience of marriage of 20 whatever years it is, I'll do the math later.
But it's all in
But
fun.
I had the same list for my brother when we were working together. He would use common sayings like a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush sort of thing, and he would mix them up all the time. He would like start one, then finish with a different one. It was just hilarious. Because like, what do you think this stuff means, man? You know, when you say it, it's hilarious. I love it.
Yep.
And I love the science of what you're talking about because you think about all the different stuff that's in the air, like you say, the brake pads and the mesothelioma in the air. You feel like it. Is it just kind of a wonder when you're doing this stuff? Says, why don't we all just have cancer? Because you're looking at all this stuff, and you're like, all this stuff is floating in the air all the time. Does it put you in like a state where you're, I'm not going to say paranoid about it, but just ultra aware of how much danger there is at all times in the air?
Well, absolutely, and it sometimes it's pretty alarming. You go into a house and you know things look kind of normal, but the customer's having things. You start measuring. It's like, oh my goodness, we're redlining here. You know, so we got to do something. But yeah, and you know, which kind of when you're working with clients. So this was in a different setting, and we had different activist groups. Like I was doing one. It was clean air for El Marino language school, and I went and did a little thing for them. We installed a unit and some filtration, got great results, but the parents are coming and they want to know, hey, what, and I was like, you got to be careful. You really got to be careful because you mentioned one little thing to a parent, and next thing you know, there's lawsuits flying, and also, excuse me, also with clients too. You know, you don't want to panic them, so I try to keep it just a matter of fact. Let's keep it all in front of us.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff you're talking about is everywhere. So when you're saying you're not doing something like avoid this area, I mean, this is our lives. So this stuff is everywhere. Tell me this. When you went through this study, is there anything that jumped out at you that you learned about this sort of IAQ field that you didn't know before or something that surprised you about the study?
Well, so I was working with a CIH, you know, and so that's a different discipline. And for our audience, a CIH is a certified industrial hygienist, and that means that they went to school. And I met this young lady on this project who I'm friends with today. Her name's Michelle, and she had a degree in chemistry from Cambridge University, a degree in micro colonization or something like that, and another degree here. And so, you know, she's the smartest one in the room when you're hanging out with her, but she's a great gal. And so just hanging out with her and her company for a year, it's like, so some of the stuff that we were finding in the air is pretty alarming. And then, of course, when you look at demographics and you're around oil refineries and industry and freeways and these kind of things, it tends to be a lower income. And so it's like, you know, if I'm measuring this at this school and I'm in a neighborhood, man, this whole neighborhood's getting bombarded with that. And then you know, it's eye opening, and it's like, wow, you know, I wish, you know, I'm a save the world kind of guy, but you know, there's only so much my wallet will allow me to do.